No. Welcome back to my channel. Hi everybody, how are you all doing today? I thought I would start with a little brief outline of what I'm going to cover today. I'm not going anywhere, so it shouldn't take that long, hopefully. I'm trying to keep these lengths to a medium minimum. And so what I did cover last night was the first part of the case of Tori Stafford. And what I did was I laid out the scenario. I did blurt out the details of what happened to Tori. I skipped ahead a couple of episodes because I wanted to prepare you. I did consider refilming it, but I decided to leave that in. But I did focus on setting up the scenario for everybody out there who wanted to find out more about Tori and her family and her environment, which unfortunately was very badly criticized by the media, but we'll get into that later. The media, it should not have entered the picture. It should have been in the media, but not to the extent and the focus that it was. So anyway, I laid out the scenario, and tonight we will continue with the actual abduction. And so before I do that, I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be preparing probably some bean burgers tonight, and I'm going to skip the soup, but we'll focus on bean burgers and maybe some potatoes with other vegetables. And so stay tuned for that. I am following the starch solution, and so hold on and I will show you the book one more time. This is the book that I picked up last October, and it's a book by John and Mary, Doctors John and Mary McDougall, who promote the starch-based diet as a method to lose weight, and also to keep fit and healthy, and to keep your stomach free of toxins. And so knowing what I know about vitamins and foods and chemicals that are created in your body by the atmosphere and by foods, I really understand what he's talking about. I did stop following it in January because of the extreme dryness it left me with, but I'm picking it up again because I don't know, I know that I put on some weight and I want to stop that, because I know if I wait until May or June to start exercising and looking at weight loss, it's going to be too late for me. I'll have to start all over again. And so what this book claims is that a starch-based diet is quite healthy for you, and it really does promote a quick and safe weight loss. And so normally you go by starches, and then you try to pair off your starches with green vegetables, which works out fine for me as well. It's a little more difficult than the Neil Barnard vegetarian program because there's a lot of starch that you have to prepare. And so a one full day of starch will be either 4 potatoes or 1 loaf of bread, and 4 cups of boiled corn, or 4 cups of steamed rice, and 12 slices of whole grain bread, So, and then 4 cups of boiled spaghetti. Not all of those, but one of those. And you can cut them down. You can say, have 1 potato, 1 cup of noodles, 1 cup of rice, and 1/4 of a loaf of bread. So if there are 12 slices of bread in one loaf, you would eat 3. So you know what I'm saying? And then you pair it off with green vegetables. And so what it is guys, that you do not have any fat at all. No frying. You are allowed hot sauces. Everything has to be low or 0 fat. And that is why I rely so heavily on my hot sauces. And I think, without those hot sauces, I might not be able to get everything down as easily as I do. Sometimes too easily. But, and so you need to stick with the proteins, which could be something like tofu. I believe it's 1/2 of a cup. 1 to 1/2 a cup of proteins a day, which will be beans, canned beans, or tofu, or any other sort of protein that can be a substitute. There is absolutely no animal protein whatsoever in this diet, which is what I like to usually and typically follow. So anyway, I'll be making another dinner tonight, and probably I'll let you have a peek at what I'm doing. You've seen me do bean burgers on this channel before, so it's going to be typically the same thing. I just don't know how much flour to use. I use a little bit of flour and breadcrumbs, so that always throws me off. I can't put all that much in. I don't know what the measurement I should rely on, whether it be a 1/4 cup, a 1/2 cup, I don't know. But I need something to solidify the beans and hold them together. And so I think I'll just omit 1 potato and do the rest flour and breadcrumbs. You know what I mean? So yeah, that'll be a nice dinner. And then after that, we will take a little break, and I'll probably be responding to your comments. And so it will be after dinner that I'll probably most likely sit down with you and discuss a little further about the actual abduction and horrific crime that was carried out against little Tori Stafford, who was only 8 years old when she lost her life in 2009. And I just wanted to remind some of those people who may be tuning in for the first time. I decided to launch this. I think it will be a mini-series. I don't think I could handle doing this full time on my channel. We'll have to see. I wanted to launch this mini-series on missing children who went missing and are either still missing or were found not in good conditions. And so I did it mostly to dedicate and memorialize I wanted to dedicate this series to a certain ongoing situation that has not yet been solved, and this would be the very, very highly publicized case of little Madeline McCann from the UK, who went missing in 2007 during a holiday in Portugal with her family. I also wanted to dedicate this series to another woman who is claiming to be a missing child. And whatever the case is, she is not really sure of her true identity. And she wants to figure out why she has such memory lapses. She wants to figure out where her real family is. She senses that her true parents are not the parents that she spent a good deal of her life with after 5 years old in Poland. She is refuting that family. She's denying that they are her blood relatives. And so we have to just wait and see if she can truly find out who her real family actually was. And so I can't judge her without facts. Facts are basically what we are all missing. In this particular case with Julia Wendell, I'm sure many of you have heard about it. And so that is what motivated me into trying to launch this mini-series on essentially human trafficking and missing children. Hi, everybody. So I thought maybe we would pick this time right now to get started with the second part of the story of the disappearance and demise of Tori Stafford. And so like I said before, I did start the last episode by setting up the scene and showing you what Tori's life and home environment was like. And so let's get started. And we're going to start with the day that Tori disappeared. And I did go back a few months and explain that Tori's mother, Tara McDonald, was addicted to OxyContin at the time. Since 2005 and leading up to 2009 when Tori went missing. And so let's look at the suspects and the people who were involved in this disappearance. First of all, Tara was not involved, but she was a suspect for 3 months until the body was discovered. So let's start with the OxyContin debt and fraud that Tara's boyfriend and Tara racked up. And Tara's boyfriend ended up scamming somebody for 30 pills, as I explained last time. And so that is when she met Terry Lynn at Carol's house. And Carol was not the biological mother of Terry Lynn. She was an adopted mother. And so we'll come back to Terry Lynn's family in the next episode. But for now, let's stick with this day. And so, anyway, another reason why Tara McDonald fell under suspicion was that at the time she was unemployed. And so she didn't have anything constructive to do with her time. And she didn't go and search for Tori when Tori went missing. She was addicted to drugs, and she tried to cover that up from the police. And when she didn't search, the grandmother went out to search for Tori, and the grandmother later filed a missing person's report. So McDonald was suspected of being in the person in that security footage who led little Tori away from school. And so right now, guys, it's not clear to me why exactly Darren wasn't there, although it was alleged that he was supposed to pick up another child and bring that child back home before he picked up Tara. It probably didn't work out that way. Maybe he was going to skip that day. I'm not exactly sure why. I suppose Darren was intending to go. He just went a little later. And that is when the abduction occurred. I believe that Tara, I should say, I believe that Terry Lynn knew a bit about the arrangement. I'm not sure because it doesn't seem normal that Tori would be led away with Darren on his way. Something there is out of whack. I'm not sure about those details, and court documents so far have not covered that precisely. But we will go over Darren's feelings over the matter in the next episode. And so I believe that because of Tara's addiction, Tori didn't get the proper care and search that, for instance, Alison Perot did. And so, an addict's child has no control whatsoever over what adults do in his or her life. And so they should be treated fairly by the police no matter what happens. However, tragically, McDonald might have, pushed her daughter, Tori, closer to the brink of danger surrounding Michael Rafferty and Terry Lynn, who were charged eventually with first-degree murder, assault, and kidnapping. And so, okay, let's get back to Terry Lynn and Michael Rafferty. Back further, about 3 months before Tori went missing. So they had met, and because they were both involved in OxyContin, substance abuse, Terry Lynn thought he was the perfect guy to be with. And so for the first 3 months into their relationship, leading up to the disappearance of Tori, Terry Lynn said or claimed that she ignored indications from Rafferty that he had a very dark side. Well, I uncovered a dark side of Terry Lynn, actually, and I will go into that a little bit further in the next episode. But for now, I want to just focus on what was said and done leading up to that day, and around that day, around that afternoon that Tori went missing. So Rafferty and Terry Lynn were in the habit, guys, and this is really creepy because I do see people doing this. And you can tell when a parent is a parent, a driver is a parent. They, or if, the driver is just somebody looking for issues to create, let's put it that way. Very suspicious activity going around surrounding schools during the times of school starting and school letting out. And so Rafferty would drive by schools around the time that children were being let out of school. And he casually brought up child abduction. And Terry Lynn claims that she ignored him. And she ignored him because she wanted her relationship to work. Well, Maybe she wanted the addiction to continue. Um, for her, the OxyContin was, you know, causing her to feel better. She had a horrible life, guys, but I'll get into that later. And Rafferty was her Candyman. He made everything better for her, and she wanted to hang on to him as long as she possibly could. And so later on, I will reveal some very shocking details about Terry Lynn's childhood and what she actually went through. And so that is why she was so strongly addicted to numerous types of drugs, not just OxyContin. And so, okay, the abduction, assault, and eventual murder of little Tori Stafford. Let's get on to that part. So, on the day that Tori disappeared, Terry Lynn was very high on prescription drugs, as usual. And she was, as usual, riding in Rafferty's car. So, isn't it weird that every time she was high, she was with him? I'm sure he was a dealer of some sort, or he had access, and she would take it from him. And so I believe that payment might have been a problem, an issue. And so when he began to press her one more time on kidnapping a child, any child, she again began to try to block his statements. And so I really think it's fair to assume that he would have thought this would be a good way for her to pay him back for freebies. That's the way I see it. This is a scummy life, guys. Why do people do this? Even if you have a horrible life, why make it worse? So as they drove past Oliver Stevens Public School, where Tori attended, Rafferty began to challenge Terry Lynn and dare her. He said, oh, well, it would be so easy to do this. They're getting out of school now. Go for it. All you have to do is talk about a doggy or candy. And so Rafferty wanted to abduct a young female because they were easy to manipulate. And so Terry Lynn attempted to just ignore his statements as they drove past schools and approached Tori's school. So he made further comments on how easy it would be, and would she think it weird if he asked her to kidnap somebody? Oh no, I mean, that's such a normal, typical, everyday routine, right? Of course it's weird. And it's sick. So, first Terry Lynn got out of the car and headed over to the schoolyard as the children began to come out. But then she did come back empty-handed with no kid. Wow, how dare she? And so they discussed again, and later on, around 3:30 p.m., around precisely that time, on April 8th, 2009, Terry Lynn did successfully abduct little Tori outside of her Woodstock, Ontario school as she left Oliver Stevens Public School. She is captured on security footage at precisely 3:32 p.m., marching down Fife Avenue, led by a woman who was later identified as not Tara, but Terry Lynn. And so it took a while for people to identify her. And so Terry Lynn lured Tori to a waiting vehicle, which was nearby, with promises of a little puppy. And so at Rafferty's urging for a young female, So she tricked her altogether. Of course, she couldn't say, my friend wants you to go with him and go with us. She couldn't say anything like that. And so she had to lie. Um, so Rafferty was parked near the school, and later, as as um, as Terry Lynn began to approach Tori and talk to her, they slowly began to walk in the direction of Rafferty's car, where he yelled at them, "Come on, hurry up, let's go get the puppy." Guys, even at 8 years old, I think that new neighborhood was not, it was too bad that Tori had to get stuck like that in a neighborhood that she didn't know much about. She was only 8 years old, guys. And so, even though it was just a short distance from her school to her new house, it was no reason for her to be left alone like that. Um, so, what did they do, Rafferty and Terry Lynn? Well, they took Tori to Guelph. Yes, they took her all the way from Woodstock, Ontario to Guelph, where they made 3 stops. And they are gruesome stops, guys. The first one wasn't so bad. It was for coffee. The next one, street drugs. The next, a hammer and garbage bags. If it were me, I would have been terrified by that time. And so they did take turns driving. They looked for a place to pull over, and Rafferty told Terry Lynn as they were driving that they couldn't keep Tori. But also they could not take her back either. So they drove Tori for about 45 minutes, over 100 kilometers north, all along Highway 401 to a remote rural area and onto a very remote road. And yes, guys, it's very hard for me to give these details. I'm going to be as abrupt and concise as I can be, trying to use good words. So it is here that Rafferty attacked Tori in the front seat of his vehicle. They were still in the vehicle. And she was on his lap. She had no choice. The landscape included shrubs, trees, and swamps. Wow. And there was a pile of rocks at the end of a laneway. And so, guys, if you could just imagine what that poor child went through. And I'm trying and I can't, I don't want to. I don't want to think about it. And so Terry Lynn knew what he was going to do to Tori, so she said. But she did ignore the danger when Tori begged and pleaded Terry Lynn not to leave her and to not let go of her hand. And so eventually Terry said she had to leave because she knew what was up. And so she first dragged Tori from the car into the field. And Terry Lynn did not stay to watch, but she left the child alone. And at that point, Tori was not wearing anything but a shirt, a Hannah Montana shirt, no shoes. And at one point, when Tori was alone with Rafferty on the field, Terry Lynn did hear screams from the car where Terry Lynn was sitting. Tori was on the ground when Terry Lynn looked, and she could hear the screams. And when Terry Lynn returned, she put a garbage bag on Tori's head in the field and kicked Tori, breaking approximately 16 ribs, and struck her head with a hammer. Rafferty then started putting Tori into garbage bags. Um, the two of them carried Tori's body to a pile of rocks and put rocks on top of her. And the rock pile was under a tree where there was snow still on the ground. And so Rafferty had blood on his body parts, which I don't have to name. And he washed with a couple of bottles of water, and he wiped it down with Terry Lynn's white jacket. Yeah, guys. So they moved Tori to that rock pile, and that was her resting place for the following 3 months. So, from then on, the abductors changed shoes. They drove to a car wash in Cambridge, and they dumped garbage bags that had all the other things that they used throughout this horrific episode. And Rafferty had brought spare clothes and switched shirts because his had blood on it, even though he tried to stay clean. So Terry Lynn also changed into clothes that Rafferty gave her. And the old clothes that they had were thrown out along Highway 401. So there were 2 spots on the back seat that couldn't get clean. And so, guys, I don't understand. I don't understand exactly what it was from, those stains. Like, I know what it was, but I don't know why it was there, because Terry Lynn claimed that she dragged Tori to the field. So they must have been hurting her much before they got to the field. Am I not right? I unless they put her in the back seat afterwards, and so that they could take her somewhere else. It's not clear. And truthfully and frankly, I'd rather not know. But these are the horrific details that went on that afternoon. And so Terry Lynn said that they could not get the back seat clean. And so parts of it were cut out and thrown out the window. How are you going to explain that? And so Terry Lynn later said that childhood trauma rage caused her to do that to Tori. And, with the hammer and the kicking, I say, guys, it was jealousy. Because if you remember when we were talking about Calvin Hoover, I believe that he was jealous of Christine, and because it had something to do with his wife. And I really think that rage Calvin harbored was against his wife, and he took it out on Christine because he most likely realized how badly it would hurt her. And Heather Hoover did say that Calvin was so attentive after that and went to the cemetery with her for years after that. And I think that's what Calvin wanted. I don't know what problems they may have had in their marriage, but I do know that these episodes are all about rage. And really, Tori had nothing to do with it. Terry Lynn attacked her out of rage against her boyfriend, if you can call him that. And so, it was all about jealousy and inability to contain her feelings of insecurity and rage. I mean, it's not normal to feel that kind of jealousy and rage against poor, innocent, and helpless child who didn't want to be there. All she did was want to have a puppy. She had a puppy at home, but she loved animals, guys. So she was really, oh, she was lied to. And so later at home, Terry Lynn's mother asked where she had been, and Terry Lynn said that she had been chased by police into London, to explain that long stretch of time. And then she and Carol began to consume OxyContin pills. Lovely, Mom. So later, Terry Lynn and Rafferty met up to discuss alibis. They would say that they went shopping in Oakville, 2 hours away from where Tori was found, and where nobody would vouch for them, of course. And then they went to a dance studio. Yes, they felt like dancing. She had to write it all down, or she wouldn't have remembered. That's how far gone she was. And so, yes, you can never remember lies anyway, right? All right, let's get on to the discovery of Tori Stafford. And so that took police 3 months to find Tori's decomposing remains in a garbage bag on July the 19th, 2009, buried, of course, under a pile of rocks 200 kilometers away from her home in a wooded, remote area, Mount Forest, Ontario. Now, guys, here's a little aside. This part of Ontario is not, it's like the Wild West. There is no police jurisdiction there. It's very remote. It is like a vast dumping field. I'm not meaning that it's littered. I mean that there's nothing there. There's nothing there. And so the area where she was found, it had no kind of police patrol. It wasn't like a city at all. It was a nothing area. And so that would be all the more reason to continuously search that region for missing persons and not wait every time somebody comes up, you know, that they could have been nearby. Search the place thoroughly. There's nothing there, you might as well search. What a horrible way to end someone's life. That is so tragic. And so, all right, let's get back to the original timeline of the morning of Tori's disappearance. Let's backtrack. And so that afternoon, well, first we'll talk about the morning. That morning, Tara McDonald's mother drove the children to school, but she did not pick them up. Then later, Tara went to the Salvation Army for food. No, she didn't go shopping. She went to the Salvation Army because she needed her money for drugs. And no, I'm not trying to criticize her. It's just that that's the scenario that we're looking at. She visited her grandfather, who would be the husband of the grandmother, in a retirement home, and then returned home. So that afternoon, when Tori failed to return home by 3:45, she was searched for by the grandmother and Darren, and at 6 o'clock or 6:04 p.m., she was reported missing by her grandmother, who went to the police station. Obviously, they didn't have a phone, or they would have phoned, right? So Darren accompanied, instead of going to pick Tori up, Darren first picked another child up and took that child home and then went back to the school. Whose idea was that? And so, of course, when he swung back to the school to pick up Tori, she was long gone. So, when Tori failed, so by 3:45, now guys, she was on the footage at 3:32 p.m. It didn't take long for them to get far. It said 45 minutes. So let me see. She was still on the road at that point. I think that if they had raised the alarm, police would have been alerted and they would have spotted the car. They would have spotted somebody. I feel that it's so tragic that this could have been prevented. It's very, very sad to me that people expect an 8-year-old child to do all the thinking and all, the policing herself. She was just a baby. And so, Tara, during the period where Tori went missing, Tara went home. I guess she had gone out and come back home after she realized Tori wasn't there. And so she hoped that Tori would phone or show up. So they did have a phone. Anyway, her mother went to the police station at 5:45, but Tara did tell her she thought it was very premature. And so suspicion, for that reason, guys, that delay, suspicion initially rested on Stafford's mother, Tara McDonald, because she waited 2 hours to report her daughter missing, even though she knew the walk home was just a few blocks, a few minutes. It wasn't like the other days before, that she came home before 4 p.m. No, but still she stood her ground and waited, and I think the police were looking for a way to shift the blame on somebody else. They should have found Tori much sooner than July the 19th. I believe that Tori received biased attention from police. I believe that maybe the area of the province and all that substance abuse up there, it had a stigma. It had a stigma, and the police, I think, carried that stigma. They continued it. A child can't control stuff like that. So the police searched the school grounds for 5 days, and that's it. They didn't go anywhere else. And there was footage of Tori being led down Fife Avenue. So why is it that they didn't see that footage that day? This is what I don't understand, guys. I don't understand it. Just because a school is closed on the weekend, you don't let it go. So, the case of Tori's disappearance, because until July, she was a missing child. So it was featured on April the 25th, 2009, in America's Most Wanted. The investigation, as I told you before, was initially led by local police who didn't check footage when they should have. And they didn't issue an Amber Alert because, she's just one of those unwealthy kids. It doesn't matter. That's the message I get from reading this. So you can imagine the message that Tori's family got. And so when she wasn't showing up, they turned it into an abduction case instead of just a missing. How can a child go missing if she's not Guys, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. I think the police, the local police there, must have been such a mockery. Why do they even exist? The OPP indicated that Stafford's mother was familiar with Terry Lynn. And Terry Lynn, in the end, when she was arrested, did assist in the search for the remains of Tori. Well, she didn't have a choice. First, she kicked in her ribs, and then she helped search. Not all there, guys. At least not that time. So her lawyer issued a statement that she wanted Tori's family to know she was trying to find her body after she brutalized it. So, on April 12th, which was right about the time that they stopped the search, Terry Lynn was arrested on another matter. And on May the 28th, Terry Lynn's charges were upped to first-degree murder and unlawful confinement, which were to be tried separately. In an interrogation on May the 20th, 2009, police then charged Michael Rafferty, 28 years old, with first-degree murder, and Terry Lynn, 18, with accessory to murder and lesser charges in abduction and suspected murder of Tori Stafford. On July the 21st, police confirmed that the remains found on the 19th near Mount Forest 2 days earlier by Detective Smith were those indeed of Tori's. Tori's body was nude from the waist down, and she was only wearing a Hannah Montana t-shirt and, get this, guys, those butterfly earrings that belong to Mama. So, anyway, her lower body had been badly decomposed. I don't know if it was because of the injuries or because of something they put on her. I don't know why, but her lower body was more decomposed than the upper body, and an autopsy determined that she suffered a severe beating, causing lacerations to her liver, 16 broken ribs. Her eventual death was a result of repeated head blows with a claw hammer. Guys, this was not Rafferty. This was Terry Lynn. I believe that she may have tried to intend to make herself look innocent, because most people would not believe that a man didn't take part in the beating. But she did confess to it, and she did. Of course, they both did it, but she had a very high level of nastiness in her body, Terry Lynn. She really did. She took everything out on that poor innocent child. And so Terry Lynn did speak about her troubled childhood and teens, which I will get into a bit in the next episode. Substance abuse, and assault convictions. So you can see that this is right up her alley. And so she did drop out of grade 8, and she spoke quite frequently about being physically abused as a child, including the same type of abuse that Rafferty did to Tori. Not the beating, but, being molested and much more than that. So, anyway, guys, this was difficult for me to get out, and I'm going on more than 38 minutes now, so I think I should end the vlog here. My burgers are baking in the oven. I will let you peek at them when they're done, but for now, we're finished here. And so that will end the second part of our discussion on the Tori Stafford case. And I will be bringing you the last part tomorrow. And we will talk, more about Rafferty and Terry Lynn and the kind of people they actually were. Um, Not that you have to really guess, but anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your words of encouragement, and I know that it is not a nice subject, but please bear with me, and let's finish this series. And I think it's going to be a letdown when I finish it because no content will be able to match this, but I think this is important. We need to examine this kind of stuff and try to put an end to it by understanding it more. So thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye for now.